Okay, so you know how sometimes life gets weirdly, exactly like a TV show?
Well, for sure. It happens.
Well, get this. We're diving into a real-life romance that seriously mirrored a huge TV drama. Think Gossip Girl.
Ah, okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, but there were these behind-the-scenes struggles, especially for one of the stars that you might not expect.
Right.
We're talking Penn Badgley. He was just on the Call Her Daddy podcast, and he really opened up about dating Blake Lively back in the day.
His Gossip Girl co-star, yeah. Dan and Serena in real life, sort of.
Exactly, and that's the core of it, isn't it? Him looking back on that time, dating Blake while they were also playing this iconic on-off couple on screen.
It's a fascinating situation.
Yeah.
You know, being so immersed in a show like that for years,
Yeah.
it really can mess with your head, blurring those lines between the character and, well, you.
Totally. And they dated from, what, 2007 to 2010?
Yep, about 3 years, right slap bang in the middle of the Gossip Girl hype.
Which ran for 6 seasons. So Dan Humphrey and Serena van der Woodsen were doing their whole dramatic on-again, off-again thing.
While Penn and Blake were navigating their own relationship off camera.
It must have been intense. Just wow.
Well, he actually used the word struggle, and he made this really great point about how there's just not enough separation when you're doing a TV show constantly.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that bit.
He basically said, when you do a television show, you're doing it constantly. There's not enough separation, I think, for anybody.
Right. And it makes total sense when you think about it.
Absolutely. You're living and breathing this character day in, day out.
You're acting out their stories, even their love stories, and then trying to switch back to your own life. That sounds tricky.
Especially when you're young, like they were. Early 20s. That's tough.
And there's that whole thing with fame, too. People see you on the street.
And they don't see Penn Badgley, they see Dan Humphrey.
Exactly. He talked about that, how people just saw him as Dan.
Which, when it's happening constantly, must make it super hard to, hold on to who you actually are.
Yeah, he said he didn't really have the emotional maturity to understand how to differentiate himself from the character, especially with self-worth, you know? So if people thought Dan was a certain way,
That could directly mess with how Penn felt about himself.
no.
Yeah.
That's a lot to handle when you're still kind of figuring yourself out.
It really is. It highlights how vulnerable young actors can be living out those formative years under such a microscope,
And their personal lives get totally tangled up with these fictional narratives.
navigating those boundaries. Incredibly complex, I imagine.
He also mentioned something else interesting, didn't he, about a relationship before Gossip Girl.
Oh, right. Yeah, he touched on having I think he called it a long and difficult relationship in his teens,
And he felt like that kind of marked him, influenced his later relationships.
which adds another layer, doesn't it? You've got that past experience.
Mhm.
Then you throw in the Gossip Girl fame, the on-screen, off-screen romance blur. It's a unique pressure cooker.
Definitely not just the show, but his own history mixing in.
Right. It all compounds.
So let's jump forward a bit. Now he's married to Domino Kirk, right?
Yes, and they're expecting twins, which is lovely.
And he described meeting her as almost instant, like this deep knowing they needed to be together. Sounds very different.
A completely different vibe, yeah. It really points to, growth.
Finding a different kind of partnership.
Exactly. Maybe learning from those earlier intense experiences, both the show and, his personal life, helped him figure out what he needed, how to set better boundaries, perhaps.
It definitely suggests he's in a very different place now.
Seems like a significant evolution, personally.
It really makes you think, though, about how we see celebrities. We watch them fall in love on screen, sometimes with their actual partners.
And it's so easy to buy into the whole fantasy, right?
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
But hearing Penn talk about it, it just pulls back the curtain on how complicated it can be. Maintaining your own identity with all that professional and public pressure.
It's a huge challenge.
So it leaves you wondering.
Yeah, here's something to chew on. How often do we, watching at home, kind of merge the actor with the character?
Yeah.
Especially when they have these big on-screen romances.
Good question.
And what does that actually do, to the actors themselves? And how we even perceive their real lives?
Definitely food for thought next time you're deep into a show. Those lines between fiction and reality may be way blurrier than we realize.